Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to dive deep into the sheer scale, the incredible historical transformations, and honestly, the absolute architectural genius of Angkor Wat. We're taking this from a static, beautiful postcard image and turning it into what it really is, a dynamic, living monument.
We so often see it as just this gorgeous silhouette against a sunrise, right? But today, we need to ask a truly monumental question. How on earth did the ancient Khmer Empire manage to construct the largest religious complex in the entire world?
To put this into perspective right out of the gate, this site covers an astounding 162.6 hectares. That is literally an area larger than modern-day Paris. We're not just talking about a single building here, it's an absolute sprawling ecosystem of stone. Because we're covering some vast spans of time and some pretty complex history today, here's our roadmap for the explainer. First, we'll look at the City of Temples. Second, building Mount Meru. Third, a shift in faith. Fourth, rediscovery and resilience. And finally, tourism and tomorrow. Okay, Section 1, the City of Temples, a glimpse into the Khmer Empire. Let's dive right in.
So the name Angkor Wat is actually modern Khmer for City of Temples or Temple City, but originally, back in the day, it was known as Vra Vishnu Loka, which translates beautifully to the sacred dwelling of Vishnu. It was built in the 12th century, roughly between 1113 and 1150 CE, by King Suryavarman II, and its original purpose was entirely dedicated to honoring the Hindu god Vishnu.
Now, keep in mind, this wasn't just some isolated building out in the jungle. Located in modern-day Siem Reap, Cambodia, this marvel took roughly 28 years to construct, and it features this breathtaking 5-kilometer-long moat. This was the centerpiece of the ancient capital, Yashodharapura. It was a massive state temple and capital city, all protected by a 3-mile-long stretch of water. It's just wild to think about. Moving on to Section 2, building Mount Meru, focusing on architecture and engineering.
At the very heart of its design is a concept known as the quincunx. It's basically an arrangement of 5 objects, 4 at the corners of a square and 1 towering right in the center. The temple brilliantly utilizes this exact pattern to physically represent Mount Meru, which is the mythic and home of the gods in Hindu cosmology. So the surrounding walls and that massive moat we talked about, they actually symbolize the cosmic mountain ranges and the cosmic ocean.
But here is where things get really fascinating. See, standard Khmer temples were always oriented to face the east, with a very standard ritualistic flow. But Angkor Wat completely breaks all the rules. It actually faces west. Plus, its incredibly detailed bas-reliefs are designed to be viewed in a counterclockwise direction, a practice known as prasavya. Now, this reversal is directly linked to Hindu funerary rites, which leads a lot of experts to believe that this whole complex was originally designed as a grand funerary temple, or mausoleum, for the king himself.
So how do you actually go about building a mythological mountain on Earth? Well, it takes some mind-boggling logistics. The sandstone was quarried at Mount Cullen, then transported via a 35-kilometer canal route before an estimated 5 to 10 million blocks were carved and assembled on site. Just think about that for a second. 5 to 10 million. They literally used more stone than all the Egyptian pyramids combined, with every single sandstone block weighing up to 1.5 tons. Absolutely incredible.
All right, Section 3, a shift in faith, from Hindu mausoleum to Buddhist center. Let's look at how things changed. The empire's identity shifted pretty rapidly. In 1150 CE, King Suryavarman II dies, actually leaving some of those intricate carvings completely unfinished. Then, just a few decades later, in 1177, Angkor is sacked by their traditional enemies, the Chams. Following that devastation, in the late 12th century, a new king, Jayavarman VII, restores the empire, but he decides the old gods didn't really protect them, so he establishes a new capital nearby and transitions the entire empire to Buddhism. Over time, Angkor Wat's identity slowly and peacefully transformed right alongside it, with Buddhist art gradually replacing many of the Hindu sculptures.
And this brings up a massive misconception that we really need to clear up. We so often think of these ruins as totally lost cities, swallowed by the jungle. But Angkor Wat was never truly abandoned. It is a living monument. In fact, 17th century inscriptions reveal that Japanese Buddhist pilgrims, like a man named Ukondayu Kazufusa, actually celebrated the New Year at Angkor Wat in 1632. They lived right alongside local Khmer people. It remained an active, vibrant center of worship the entire time. That brings us to Section 4, Rediscovery and Resilience, looking at encounters and survival.
When European explorers eventually did arrive, they were absolutely stunned by what they saw. The French naturalist Henri Mouhot wrote in 1860, "One of these temples, erected by some ancient Michelangelo, might take an honorable place beside our most beautiful buildings. It is grander than anything left to us by Greece or Rome." And, his first-hand awe just perfectly captures that timeless wonder the monument inspires in pretty much everyone who visits.
But the 20th century proved to be a brutal test of resilience for the temple. Official restoration began in 1908, but the 1970s brought the horrific Cambodian Civil War and the Khmer Rouge. The temple miraculously survived military encampments and even shootouts that left literal bullet holes in the ancient stone. Then, in the 80s and 90s, art thieves pillaged the site, tragically lopping off the heads of statues to sell on the black market. Thankfully, in 1992, it was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which sparked massive global conservation efforts. Finally, Section 5, Tourism and Tomorrow, Protecting the Past. Today, the temple faces totally different kinds of threats. In 2018 alone, 2.6 million foreign tourists visited. Millions of footsteps cause immense wear and tear. And ironically, what the jungle couldn't destroy, microscopic organisms just might. Biofilms are literally producing acids that degrade the sandstone. Crazy, right? But there's a lot of good news too. International teams from France, India, Japan, and Germany are collaborating, working tirelessly to preserve its magnificent carvings. In some places, highly accurate replicas are replacing the most heavily damaged statues to preserve the aesthetic while protecting the priceless originals. But perhaps the most fascinating modern update comes from above. In 2015, researchers used LiDAR technology, which is basically advanced lasers mapping the ground from the sky. They completely peeled back the digital jungle canopy to reveal that this wasn't just an isolated temple for the elite. It was a bustling, densely populated grid. They found hidden wooden fortifications, a complex road network, and even buried towers that were built and dismantled during the original construction phase. And that leaves us with this final, incredibly provocative thought. If advanced lasers are just now discovering hidden cities and buried towers from 900 years ago, what other ancient secrets are still hiding beneath the jungle floor, just waiting to completely rewrite our history? Angkor Wat is clearly still revealing its mysteries, and the story of the City of Temples is far from over. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep that curiosity alive, and I will see you next time.